Woodpeckers wishes they made these tools. These are 5 incredible tools from our neighbors up north in Canada, eh? Let's go. I am a huge fan of absolutely useful and high quality tools, and that's exactly what we have here. 5 of some of the most useful tools that you'll ever buy for your shop that'll be around for your lifetime. These are just extremely good quality tools. And again, made right there in good old Canada. Although I'm a fan of my USA made tools, don't get me wrong, I love my Woodpeckers tools. I think they're some of the best tools made, but these are equally as good, and I'm fixing to prove it. Some of these tools Woodpeckers doesn't even make, so not that I'm aware of. First up, the JessEm stainless steel square. So the packaging is fairly basic on these, just a cardboard box, non-colored. I don't think Woodpeckers is anything fancy either. You're not talking like Apple iPhone level packaging where it's just all smooth and pretty and all that stuff. I don't mind that because it saves a little money there, but it's nice packaging. Everything's well kept and all your details are on it anyway. Canada, eh? Oh, nice. So these are in a carrier or an MDF style secure board that you can use to either hang or keep in a drawer so that these things stay nice and protected while you're not using them. It's impressive. This is really cool. It has a very cool feature, actually a couple of very cool features I haven't seen on any other square like this. First and foremost, this is a stainless steel blade on here, so you're not going to have to worry about that rusting. And they are nice in the hand, like they feel like good quality tools. They're also extremely accurate. These are all 3 square to 0.002 of an inch through the length of the blade. You're not going to need any more accuracy than that in woodworking. And I said 3 because there's 3 sizes here. You get a 6, an 8, and a 12 to choose from, or you can buy all 3 or any combo of the 2. If it was me, I would probably buy the 6 and the 12, but if you need the 8-inch, go for that too. All of these measurements are laser etched on both sides of the blade, and those are accurate to 0.004 of an inch through the length of the blade, so extremely accurate. Now these squares have 2 very unique features that I haven't seen on this style square. They may be out there, I just haven't seen it. First and foremost, they have this new technology that they come out with on their rulers, which we'll talk about later. It's called Flex Grip. Now these little lines on here actually feel grippy. And the reason they feel that way is because of how they laser etch onto the blade. It feels like sandpaper, but it's not. It's literally etched onto the blade, so it's not going to come off. When you press down on that, it keeps this blade from moving on you. So if you stick it in place and just put light pressure down there, then your square's not going to move. It's where you put it. The next feature is one that I absolutely love. I think this should be on every square ever made from here forward if they don't have a patent. This is what they're calling a balancing tab. I love this. So simple. A little tab just pops right out of the base of the square and it balances itself. I mean, who don't love that? So now, if I'm working on the edge of a piece of sheet good or a board or anything like that, the square doesn't fall over. When the balance tab's off, it falls over. But now, it literally balances itself on there, and you can use that to also help you when you're scribing lines. So it is helping you index the edge of that board, so no more trying to fumble with trying to keep it up against the board while you're scribing the line. And this is perfectly in line with that blade, so it's going to lay flat and level. Another great thing they did here was they started the measurement off on the bottom, right here on this side, starting at 0, going to 1, 2, 3, same thing on the flip side. And then on the inside of the square, they did the same thing, starting this off at 0. Not all squares that I've seen have done that, and it always just made no sense to me, so I'm glad they did that here. And they have the scribe holes every 1/16 of an inch on this blade, and those scribe holes have a point to them so that your pencil lead gets right up in there to that point to make it more accurate. Speaking of pencil lead, I'm using the Pentel Graph Gear 1000, the pencil I always recommend, because I keep it right there in my pocket. There's nothing not to like about these squares. They come in a nice case to keep them in if you want to keep them in a drawer or hang them up. And those cases have a magnet on there too to hold them in. So if they are tipped forward, they won't fall out. The bigger the 12 and the 8, if you turn them upside down, they'll fall out. But if you hang them on the wall, which is what that's meant for, it won't fall out. It's going to stick in there so that you can mount these on your wall or throw this in your drawer. See, the little baby square don't fall out. I also like that the base is wide enough on these squares that they will set up on their own. And where that's useful is if you want to use this to set up your blade heights and bit heights at the saw, the router, or anything like that. It's always handy to have that like that instead of just a thin blade like an old carpenter square or something like that. That's why these work much better, or one of the reasons they work much better in a workshop versus the old carpenter square. Now, comparing the JessEm to the woodpeckers, price difference, this is less expensive than the woodpeckers by a decent amount on all of these squares, but on this square specifically, will pop up on the screen the current prices as the time of this filming. But there are some similarities and differences both here that I like on each, just to give you a fair representation. So one thing that I noticed immediately when I got the JessEm in was the fact that these markings are much easier to read on my eyes. And I'm getting older and it ain't getting no easier to see. But these are just duller. And these stand out a lot more, contrast a lot more. And the JessEm square does again have that grip technology. It does have this blade that sticks out, but the woodpecker square does also have a similar blade that runs down the base of the square, which I really do like. And it does have this end gauge square or scale that I also really like. So that's two of the main things I like about this woodpecker square. Other than, of course, it's accurate. It's red, it's awesome. I'm not gonna say it's not. But the JessEm is also awesome in its own way. They both have the scribe holes. They are both extremely accurate. There's just a couple of minor differences there depending on which you prefer. Next, I want to show you one of the most revolutionary things that anybody's done to a ruler since they put numbers on them. But first, I'd like to give you 45 plus free project ideas and teach you how to make money with your woodworking. All you got to do is go to school.com/731woodworks and join today. It's absolutely free, and we'd love to help you. These are the JessEm rulers. These are stainless steel. Again, stainless steel rulers. They're not going to rust, not going to have any problems. They look to be the same exact material as the blades used on those squares, which they probably are. These have a very unique feature that I've never seen in any other ruler ever, because JessEm invented it. It has that grip technology built in. This is a very, very useful feature on a ruler like this, because you know if you've used rulers in the wood shop that are just slick, what happens? Slick ruler, very good ruler, by the way, but it's slick. It moves. Like I can push down on it. It just moves around. So when you're trying to get those marks, it's so frustrating because it's moving. These will not move because of this technology. This is that grip technology again. It feels like sandpaper. It's not sandpaper. It's etched into there. So if I'm trying to lay something out here, all I do is put it where I want it, and then with a couple of fingers, you're going to push down on that, and it's not going to move on you, because these actually flex a very, very tiny bit, maybe a microscopic amount. But that grip gets pushed down into your stock. It's not going to damage your stock, but when it's pushed down on there, it really secures this to your stock. It's a really good feature. And again, extremely accurate. There's not a whole lot to say here. It's a ruler. If you don't have a ruler in the shop, absolutely pick one up. If you're only going to pick up one, I would say probably go with maybe the 18 or the 12, depending on, or maybe both. Why not? YOLO, right? I'm telling you, these are handy as a shirt pocket. You will not regret getting one of these. Next up, one of my favorite setup gauges for the shop. Now, I had a previous version of this and I wasn't pleased with it. It just didn't work like I thought it should, and they revamped them recently over the last year or so, and these are some of the better setup gauges that I found. Number one, again, stainless steel. You're going to see that recurring theme here. They keep making this stuff out of stainless steel, so it's not going to rust if you're in a humid environment, like in the south or sometimes in the north. Like, it just gets humid. So you don't have to worry about that with these. I like this one because you can use both the top of the blade and the bottom of the blade to set up whatever height. And it's pretty easy. It's very easy to see which measurement you're using because that indicator there is pointing bottom of blade or top of blade. And one of the main things I like about this, how it adjusts. So it adjusts up and down really smooth. And then when you get it ready to lock it in with this brass knob on here, that's really the only thing that's not stainless is the brass knob, which also won't rust. When you tighten that up, those teeth, basically it's like gears. You know how a gear goes into each other. When you start tightening this up, it pulls it into those gears so that it's dead accurate. And that's what I love about this. Now I like using this bigger one at the table saw or the router table because it's just more substantial. It's a little over 3¼ inches high. But this one works really well for a router, like a handheld trim router, fixed base, plunge base. So this is what I use this one for because it doesn't like fall off the small bases. This one only goes up to 52 millimeters. I bought one of each so that I would have millimeters and inches. So whatever 50 millimeters, Chris let them know, whatever that means, a couple inches. The little one goes up to 2 inches, just barely over. Next up, if a Festool domino is not in your future, maybe you don't like the brand, maybe you don't like the price, maybe you should check out a doweling jig. These are some of the easiest ways to join boards together accurately. And that's what I love about these. I actually had this JessEm dowel jig in a head-to-head competition with the Dowelmax about a year or two ago. I'll drop that video in the description if you're interested. However, they come out with a new updated model. First and foremost, this is much lighter weight and easier to handle versus the old model. The old model is just thick, heavy, kind of cumbersome. I like it, but when you get this in the hand, you're like, oh wow, this is a big improvement. You kind of get that feel. Now this does come in a combo kit where you can get the 1/4, the 3/8, and the 1/2 inch sizes, or you can just buy whichever size you use most often. I do like having all 3 sizes. As soon as it was pre-announced, I pre-ordered this because I thought it looked great. And I wasn't wrong. This is really nice. This is also stainless steel. See there? Nothing's gonna rust from JessEm here recently. So I do like the way this one adjusts better than the other one. The other one was a little cumbersome to move up and down. This one slides a little easier, as well as has that gear-driven design similar to the setup gauges, that when you tighten this up, it locks into that position so you know it's going to be accurate and you don't have to worry about it moving. You get all 3 sizes of the drill bits with this combo that I bought, and what's great is dowels are cheap. Like you can buy them dirt cheap on Amazon or anywhere else, unlike the Festool Domino where the dominoes are actually very expensive. So if you're looking for a joinery system that's stronger than pocket holes, or you're just trying to step up your game, you want something better, check out a dowel jig and see if this is right for you in your shop. Depending on your budget, where you're at in your woodworking, this might be a great option. I do like how these work. Again, I used them versus the Dowelmax. I also like the Dowelmax, but I thought this one was better overall, considering all things, but that's my opinion. Now, if you get the kit, you're gonna get the base or the fence that adjusts how far away from the edge you're gonna be drilling your dowels. And then you also get these extra swappable pieces, which is the 1/4 inch dowel guides as well as the 1/2 inch dowel guides. Now, if you're doing something small projects, then the 1/4 is where you're gonna wanna be. If you're doing larger projects, like tables and things like that, 1/2's where you're gonna wanna be. And if you're doing medium-sized projects, maybe end tables, coffee tables, things like that, you might want to look at the 3/8. That's why I like having all 3 options, so I don't have to worry about it if the project comes up. I have what I need. All 3 of these have a nice scale etched onto them, and what's really cool is when you lock this down at 1 inch, say, you flip it over, it's going to be 1 inch to the center of the hole from that face of the fence. Also, each guide has etched onto there what size it is, whether that's 1/2, 1/4, or even the 3/8. Each one of them do have this notch here, and that'll fit the exact size of a 3/8 inch dowel. This is a 1/4 inch dowel notch, and then the 1/2 inch dowel notch as well. It's 1 3/4 inches to the center line from this, and what this notch is used for is referencing a dowel to do offsets and things like that. I'll show you some of the previous footage of the dowel jig in use. This is the older model. The new version has just been upgraded to make it lighter and easier to use overall, but they function practically identical. The next JessEm tool has been hiding in plain sight right here the whole time. You didn't even notice it. It was here from the beginning, I promise. This really handy thing is the JessEm stock guides, the table saw stock guides to be specific. They have some for the router table, but this one is mine, and this is for the table saw. Now, this is a jig that I built. I have free plans available for this jig, and what this jig does is it helps you not have to permanently attach this to your table saw fence, because these are meant to be used on your table saw for a couple of reasons, and they're really great. Number one, there's 2 rollers built in here, and you'll see that they're actually angled pointing towards your table saw fence. And what that's for is you can adjust these anywhere you want and then screw this down. It will allow things to pass under them, but it will not roll backwards. So it's basically acting as an anti-kickback, while also, because the wheels are slightly tilted, pushing the stock toward the fence so that you get more accurate cuts on your table saw. This is especially useful on wider boards as well as sheet goods. And what's great about these is they have a pretty good reach on them too, so you can extend them out as far as you need to, and then just lock these little knobs down. Easy to use, very easy to set up, really not a whole lot of setup at all. And these actually slide in the T-track, so you can move these, position these where you need them as well, depending on where you want it, front and back of the blade. And again, you can mount this directly to your table saw fence if you have a Bessemeyer style type fence like it's on the saw stop, or you just get you a couple of these mag jigs. These are 150-pound mag jigs. Build this jig, free plans available on my website, 731woodworks.com. And now you have some stock guides to help you get more accurate cuts on your table saw. Again, I think JessEm makes some of the best woodworking tools on the market. They're very, very good. I purchased the stock guides as well as the dowel jig. JessEm was kind enough to send over the rulers as well as the setup gauges, and Tay Tools sent over these. No money changed hands, and I'm gonna give these to Chris. Editor Chris, say hi. He's been doing an absolutely amazing job editing my videos, so I wanna gift him this 3 set of amazing squares. Thank you, Chris. If you like this video and you want some more budget-friendly, really budget-friendly squares that are still top of the line, check that video out right there. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump. Thanks for watching.